Welcome to Disrupted Science, the occasional conversation between the authors of the upcoming book, How the Internet Disrupted Science. I'm Kent Anderson here with my co-author, Joy Moore, and we're recording this on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. Hey, Joy.
Hey, Kent.
We've got an early episode this week. We're on a Tuesday.
We do. I'm going to be on an airplane during our normal recording time tomorrow.
Ooh,
So,
exciting.
yep, going to the peer review congress. I'm bringing all my podcasting gear. I was thinking I'll just live stream the whole thing. Do you think that would,
There you go.
do you think people would appreciate that?
I would be very interested in the audience response to that, and to the AMA's response to that.
No, I'm
But
not.
you do
not.
get a media room, so we might actually be able to snag a couple of interviews if we're
Yeah.
lucky and people are feeling talkative.
Yep.
So good luck with that. Hopefully we get to talk to. There's some interesting people there. I know that, so it should be great.
Yep, and we got a sneak preview
Go ahead.
of the program. And
Yes.
so I've got it all marked up and ready to go.
Yep. Good. But we've got a big episode this week, and so we're just going to dive straight in and talk about how what is going on at the CDC and HHS is about private wealth and not public health. All right. So to start things off, we're going to do a quick review of what everyone knows has gone on at the CDC. So last week, Susan Monarez, the Senate-approved director, was fired in a really clumsy, shameful way, and she's still contesting the legality of that. So there's a lawsuit going on, of course, but several other top officials resigned. And there was a great interview with Dimitri Daskalakis, I think he was in the virology section.
Yeah.
And it's just heart-wrenching. I mean, these people were doing things for the public good, and they felt a real alignment with their work and public benefit in actual fact. And so it's heart-wrenching to listen to that interview. It's on the Daily podcast, I think, a few days ago from Friday, maybe Thursday or Friday. But everybody I think probably saw the videos of them being lauded as they left, being given flowers, being given a walking standing ovation, and all of that. And that really that's also very heart-wrenching. But what we want to talk about today is the New York Times had an article about kind of what comes next, and it was about what you need to know about Jim O'Neill, who has been named as the acting head of the CDC on the heels of Susan Monarez's unceremonious firing. And but they did not tell you what you need to know about him, did they?
No. They told us that he's been RFK Jr.'s deputy. So I guess he was like the closest person to pull in and say, now you're acting director of the CDC. And then they gave a little bit about his background. And we don't know how consequential he's going to be as an acting director in terms of policy. A lot of things are being suspended, or Cassidy's trying to do something, and a bunch of senators are trying to do things to stop this. But Jim O'Neill is an important character in the long-running Silicon Valley play for government control, and particularly when it comes to science. So
Right. So I want to frame out a little bit about this, and there's in the post that will deliver the video version of this to people, and will be on the Geyser. There's a chart that we found that, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with that as a framing element, because I found it made my head explode when I saw it, in a couple of ways. First, Peter Thiel obviously loves The Lord of the Rings, and that makes me sad, because The Lord of the Rings should not have a fan bastardizing it like he does. But he has an investment firm called Mithril, and back in 2014, Jim O'Neill outlined why Silicon Valley investors were shying away from biotech startups. and contrasting biotech as uncontrollable, poorly understood, indefinite and random, heavily regulated, expensive, with high salaried and unaligned people, namely scientists, versus software startups, which are perfectly determinate, well understood, basically unregulated. They actually say that, cheap with a little seed money, and committed entrepreneurial hackers. So this kind of set up this notion that they are trying to make science as predictable and as investable and as profitable as tech. And it also underscored that this has been an effort more than a decade in the making, and that they have a playbook. And this playbook is one that we really need to understand. And you've done a lot of work on breaking this into digestible pieces for folks, right?
Yep. I'm going to give it a shot.
All right, go for it.
All right. Well, there are a couple of main characters to understand. And when you're looking at investment in science in recent years, and you're looking at the different philanthropies that are targeting science, you can usually trace them back to Silicon Valley millionaires or billionaires. And they're people who made a lot of money really quickly off of maybe one thing that they were good at. And they have been investing in decentralized science, which is the notion of basically treating science like software, and paying for it in different ways, including crypto. And
Right, and they even have like DeFi as decentralized finance.
yeah,
They have DeSci,
yeah.
right?
So it's the blockchain model. And two people who fit into this particular equation that leads back to Jim O'Neill are Palmer Luckey and Michael Antonoff. And you may have heard of them. They got their start and they built their wealth by inventing Oculus virtual reality headsets. And they sold their company to Facebook in 2014 for 2.3 billion. And so
Right.
like a lot of newly wealthy techie people, they started to get involved with, where are we going to put this money to make the world a better place and save humanity, or whatever.
Or whatever. But
Or
it always
whatever.
reminds me, though, that what Scott Galloway always said about the Oculus was it was wearable prophylactic headwear. It's like nobody wearing one of those is going to get lucky, Palmer lucky. So anyhow, it always makes me laugh because they really, it has been kind of a fizzle. I mean, that whole technology. So,
Yeah.
they scored on the financial front, but you and I are not using an Oculus to record this.
Yeah. And so the other day when I was reading this New York Times article about Jim O'Neill, I had no idea that I was going to get into virtual reality headsets within about 5 minutes, but that's just the way things work.
That's the way. That's the way of the world these days.
Right. The tip-off in the New York Times article was that they mentioned that Jim O'Neill was, among other positions he's held over the years, was for a time the CEO of the SENS Foundation, SENS, SENS. And if you don't know what the SENS Foundation is, I don't know how many people are aware of this sphere, then you might think he was just another entrepreneurially connected administrator of a philanthropy like so many others.
Right.
But this is not just another philanthropy. So SENS stands for Strategies for Engineered Negligible Senescence. And this is a framework for combating aging. And their goal is to prevent or reverse age-related damage in the body. And this is the brainchild of a guy named Aubrey de Grey.
Oh God, not him.
So Aubrey de Grey is a biogerontologist. He's a very polarizing figure, and he's been at this since the early 2000s. He came into a great deal of money that he inherited. He is somewhat of a self-proclaimed biogerontologist. His actual training is a little all over the place. And he's also well known as being a super creep. And for a while, he was kicked out. Well, he was kicked out of the foundation that he started for having sexually harassed a number of young female interns or
Right.
recipients of their summer program grants.
Yeah, he's cult curious, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and he even has the creepy long hair and
Oh, he's got the beard and everything.
all of that. But anyway, this model that he set out divides aging into 7 categories of damage, including cell loss, mutation, and senescence. And so by addressing the different types of age-related damage, Sens proposes a comprehensive approach to treating aging and achieving a state of negligible senescence.
Right.
And the best example of an organism, there are a number of them, that is known for negligible senescence, is a quahog. Do you know what a quahog is?
That's an oyster, right?
No, it's a
A
giant.
clam.
It's a giant sea clam.
Yeah, that's right. It's a clam.
Yes, and the most famous
I
clam.
haven't had seafood in a while, okay? Give me a break.
Well, quahogs, if you can get them up in your neck of the woods, they make the best stuffies, and they don't have them
Yes.
all the time. So,
Yep.
if they're on the menu, you should get one.
Yeah.
And then the most famous quahog was Ming. She was discovered in 2006 off the coast of Iceland, and she was a great big old clam and bigger than ones they've seen before. And
Yeah.
so the scientists counted her rings and determined that she was 507 years old.
Wow, Methuselah quahog.
Yes.
I like it.
But unfortunately, they didn't realize how old she was when they started checking her out, and they froze her and actually murdered her as part of the process. So
They iced her.
they iced her, R.I.P. So anyway, these people are in pursuit of a quahog type existence. They also refer to lobsters and starfish a lot, and I think starfish, especially for their regenerative abilities to regrow
Right,
themselves and things like that.
Right.
And I mentioned before that Aubrey had been a part of a lot of scandal, but he's still going strong. And just in July, he headlined the Revolution Against Aging and Death Festival that was held at Red Rocks in Vegas. And so he had center stage, and that was a huge gathering of people who are really into this. And there's a lot of money, a lot of companies, and then a lot of people who are just fascinated, hobbyists. And unfortunately, according to ProPublica, at this festival, 2 women were hospitalized because they got peptide injections at a booth. So don't get peptide injections at a trade show, I think is probably good advice.
It's good advice.
So anyway, a lot of the Silicon Valley investors have really adopted these philosophies, and they've joined forces with a lot of scientists. And you could see how this line of inquiry would be really fascinating, right? It's like getting to the root of humanity. What makes us mortal?
Right.
And so they
It's an eternal question that even somehow we've maintained asking despite cycles of death, because we keep passing it on generation to generation. How do we avoid the mortal coil, right?
And so through a lot of these biotech companies, and other organizations, they've basically been creating a parallel track, the way as I look at it, to what most of us understand as the traditional bench to bedside process for public health, meaning you do basic research in a lab, you build on that, and then it becomes clinically applied and distilled by experts into guidelines, and then it goes into recommendations for what doctors do, you
Right.
know,
Or a drug or device
or a
that
drug or
is
device or
approved
whatever.
by the FDA and safety and efficacious, right?
Yeah, and most of that work, and
Efficacy.
yeah,
Hmm.
most of that work, and that's along the pipeline of a lot of government funding going into this basic research, because that's not interesting for industry until there's a sign that it's going to be useful for a product.
Right.
And then and so there's different players at different parts of the of the process. But
Hmm.
what these guys have been doing is more of a private approach, and the parallel track that they've been building is private biotech leading to functional medicine and supplements and alternative treatments.
Hmm.
And this is all off the books. It's unregulated. It's highly speculative, and there's a lot of opportunities to make money everywhere in the pipeline. So if you're doing
Hmm.
basic research in a private lab, then you can get funding. So you start building value at phase one. And because it's
Right.
not regulated and because it doesn't have to go through all the standard processes, you can go straight to products direct to consumers very, very quickly.
Right. Right.
So they're doing that. And then now they are turning and pointing at big pharma as being the evil ones
Hmm.
that we need to control. And
Right.
we saw that just the other day in Trump's post, where he kind of woke up in the morning and realized that the CDC was on fire and immediately pointed at big pharma to say, you didn't give us the data. I don't know. It was a
Right. Maybe my
typical.
Operation Warp Speed was a miracle, but I don't know that we all saw all the data. Maybe there's more behind the scenes here that we need to know about.
Yeah.
Trying to start a conspiracy theory about vaccines
Hmm.
again and about pharma not being transparent, and that it continues, and then you have people taking mortality data and twisting it into physicians cause this many deaths. It's physicians attend that many deaths.
Hmm.
Trying to give comfort or make the last moments more peaceful, or trying to save someone's life and not being able to, whether it's a motorcycle accident or end of life because of age or cancer or whatever. And it's just heartless. I mean, it's really, really heartless, and the kind of politics that these people practice is just burn everything down and let us have our way.
Hmm.
It's yeah.
And that's where the McCullough camp fits in. Their role in this game is to drive the data, or to sow the
Hmm.
doubts in the accepted data. And so
Right.
that's going hand in hand with all of this. But their focus, the Sens folks, and Peter Thiel, Silicon Valley camp that are really invested and interested in this. Their focus is on longevity, in a way that has nothing to do with caring for an aging population. Like you said, it has nothing
Hmm.
to do with helping people age gracefully. They believe that aging is a disease. The fact,
Hmm.
that this is something that should be cured, as opposed
Right.
to something that is just natural for humans.
Right.
We have a lifespan.
Right.
We are
Right.
not
Yep.
cohogs. Um, and it's really frustrating to see this focus on useless, societally useless research going into longevity when we do have a big burden on society of how to care for our aging population. And the reason that we're living so much longer is because of all of the good science and medicine that has been developed
And
over
public
the years,
health. I
and
mean,
public health. Yeah.
the elimination of lead in gas and paint, the elimination of smoking in most public spaces, all of those things have been, the seat belts, airbags, you just name all the little interventions that have helped more people live longer and stay healthier. And, it's just, yeah. So
Yeah.
they've got it. They're not looking beyond the end of their noses. They've got something else going on here.
Right, because they've applied math to it, and that's what LEV is at the heart of it. So that's longevity escape velocity. Do you want to explain to me what this is?
It's a hypothetical situation in which one's remaining life expectancy is extended longer than the time that is passing. What?
Yeah.
For example, in a given year in which longevity escape velocity would be maintained, medical advances would increase people's remaining life expectancy more than the year that just went by. Oh, goodness.
That's what all these biohacker influencers like Andrew Huberman are on about.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
what all
And so what's so
the
funny?
wearables, because they're checking their data to see how many
Yeah,
more
their Aura
minutes.
rings and
Yeah.
yeah, their glucose monitors and who knows what else they have. And, but it's so funny. They're appropriating rocket science language for something like this.
Well, a
I
lot of
mean,
these, that's
again, at the fantasy level of these people, they've got Lord of the Rings, there's Star Trek all over the place. They're the singularity and all this stuff is such a fantasy world they inhabit.
the appropriation of physics is astounding. And a lot of these people were physicists by training as well. And this idea that, oh, well, let's just take this one thing I know and, apply it somewhere else. It's, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So make 90 the new 50 by 2030. Well,
Yep. That's what they want to do.
clock's ticking, guys. Get on it.
Gosh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. You're having enough trouble on the pickleball court with some of these people in their 80s, right? So,
Man, they gave me, I got schooled yesterday. I played with a new group. And this one woman, she was 85 years old and she was a gangster.
was she a quahog?
She was not a quahog.
So it can happen. It can
Yeah.
happen with just normal humans with normal genetics, and they can stay healthy and active and school far younger people on the pickleball court. But this is but you're talking about their inability to really actually they're trying to use this kind of logic to undermine social policies, right?
Yeah, they are. And that's why they're creating an economic model for this as well. I mean, one of Aubrey de Grey's premises, and he wrote a book review in PLOS Biology in I think 2007.
2004, I see.
Oh,
in the
2004.
notes,
Yeah. And he was basically saying, frailty is an economic burden. So these old people are costing us money because they are frail. And so therefore, if we can get rid of frailty, then we can create more wealth. And we don't have to pay for
because there
this.
won't be any frail people.
There won't be any frail people.
Yeah.
And so I guess they're trying to bifurcate. So if don't vaccinate people, then they're not going to be around to get frail, and those who survive are prevented from being frail. So
Right.
it's
It's
a
all,
win-win.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. The death will be because of something else other than old age. So that's how we'll get rid of it.
Yeah.
But but O'Neill was also, this is not his first run at up the government flagpole, right? He was with the Bush administration, I think, as associate director at HHS, something
Yes.
like that.
Hmm.
And then you mentioned that Dave Gorski wrote about him in 2017 when he was a candidate to run the FDA, right?
Yeah, and Gorski just did a post the other day about the current situation and with a call back to his 2017 piece where he predicted that Peter Thiel was going to be the one to basically choose the next FDA director, and Jim O'Neill was a candidate then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Thiel seems to be behind this entire administration
yeah.
in a lot of ways. I mean, from J.D. Vance to
Hmm.
RFK to now O'Neill.
Yeah.
And so let's keep that in mind, that one of the biggest technology players and billionaires is pushing, funding, shaping, informing a lot of these decisions.
Hmm.
So,
And it really revolves around going back to the chart that you presented earlier, and the costs of biotech,
mhm,
and the proposal that we should externalize the costs, make it cheaper
right,
by not requiring safety approvals. So that's really been their mantra all along. Um, you know,
right, right.
just,
Yeah.
definition of done is when we say it is, and ship the product, and hopefully it doesn't have too many bugs in it.
Well, I think that, isn't it that they said that they don't have to prove that it does anything as long as it doesn't hurt you, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
safety, they still want
It's
safety
safety
checks. It's
versus
efficacy,
efficacy. Yeah.
right? So we don't have to show that taking this has a benefit. If the risk is zero, then any benefit is fine.
Yeah. And this
But
is
they
this
also aren't going to do any of the post marketing tracking or anything like that. It's just going to be, who knows how they're going to actually assess safety.
right. And efficacy, even even if it doesn't hurt you, putting out a drug that is not efficacious can be harmful. And that reminds me of the Alzheimer's drugs that have
Hmm.
been,
Hmm.
so controversial, because it's creating hope for patients and their families. It's distracting them from other quality of life things. I mean,
It's costing them money.
there are all sorts of,
It's costing them money,
yeah.
right? It's costing them money. And then who knows what you're taking them in combination with.
Hmm.
And they're not going to test for that safety because that's not how these people work.
Yeah.
They want to flood the market with as many weird little herbs and spices as they can.
Hmm.
So,
And so that was what Gorski laid out for us in 2017. And a lot's changed since then, with O'Neill resurfacing now. And a lot of biotech companies have been formed.
mhm.
A lot of science has been published on these topics since then, thanks in large part to open access, pay to publish. And so the groundwork has been laid with infrastructure, but also data and literature that is
Things they can
supporting
cite.
things that they can cite.
Yeah.
And that takes us back to where I started with the Oculus guys. So
Right.
Michael Antonoff was quoted in the 2021 annual report for the SENS Foundation, and that was the last year that Jim O'Neill was their CEO. And he gave them $1 million as kind of a bailout, during tough times during the pandemic. And so
Right.
he was applauded for keeping them afloat. And Antonoff he's got a lot. He's he's got a lot going on. He's got a number of different foundations, and that I think you looked into. Um,
Yeah.
and
It's got this strange little cat's cradle of a foundation that gives to another foundation that he runs that gives to another foundation.
Mhm.
And I can't figure out, again, this gets back to why we need a forensic accountant for these people, because why would you set up something just to pass money from one pocket to the other unless there's a timing or tax or something else worse going on? But
Well,
anyhow,
that's how rich
for
people
another
stay
day.
rich. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he and uh, Lucky, his partner, formed Formic Ventures, and so you can look at their portfolio, which includes a company called insilico.com.
Hmm.
And that's one of the main companies that he's behind, and they have quite a suite of products. Um, and insilico.com is run by a guy named, and I'm going to get the name wrong, so I'm going to try my best, Alex
Well,
Zav-
that's a tough one. I'm just letting people know this is a tough one. She's on the high dive, ladies and gentlemen. She's
Zavaranok
got her toes over the end of the board. Here we go.
Zavaranakov. And I think he came out of Harvard, and his initial research was around finding alternatives for animal models. And that might ring a bell as one of the new Maha tenets, is they want to reduce the dependency, and I think they're actually starting to stop funding animal model studies, because it's just easier and not so yucky and to do things with a computer
Yeah, it's not
than
as
it is.
smelly to have to feed mice in the middle of the night. You don't have to wake up and
Yeah.
check their water and everything. Ugh.
So what Alex's insilico.com sells is described as generative AI software for drug discovery, scientific research, and sustainability. And so they link this suite of softwares for science, as I like to call them, to a therapeutic pipeline of high quality therapeutic programs discovered using generative AI and automation. And they published their company founding groundbreaking paper in open access in Nature Communications some years back.
Yep.
So, and we're going to show the screenshot of their two-pager. And if any listeners out there have worked in Agile, you'll see it looks very similar to a Scrum board, where you've got a bunch of
Yep.
things on the left and then they're flowing into a Gantt chart kind of thing on the right. And it's also simple. It's laid out. They've got all these things over here, and then they make things over here that are, in the pipeline and are related to diseases and conditions that need to be addressed.
Yeah, predictable, just like
Hmm.
software
Yeah,
building. You just
it's so
build a
easy.
solution to death.
Hmm. Right. And again, we've seen this language around the benefits of using more AI software and automation in a lot of the NIH communiques, that they're giving incentives around. I think it was in the journal publishing one where they were cutting back on APCs, that they were going to cap, but that if companies or authors or publishers are using AI, then they get an allowance for that. So all of this is creeping right into what is right in front of our faces, coming from
Hmm.
RFK Jr.
Yep.
And then as it relates to publishing, one of their products that they offer, and these are all available for individual purchase and licensing, is called Science 42 DORA, another acronym, DORA. Can we stop?
I also wonder if 42 has to do with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, God.
And the answer, remember the answer to life, the universe, and everything was, I think it was 42. Oh my gosh, these people are just like they're taking everything from the books you read when you're 13. I swear.
I didn't read
It's
any of
amazing.
these books, and I don't know the Lord of the Rings. So all
Sorry,
of
I'm
this is
bringing I'm
no, it's helpful because
I'm
it
bringing
just
the
goes
male
up.
aspect to
You
it
know, I
because
was
all the boys are reading them.
I was reading Stephen King and stuff
Oh,
like
you were
that.
that? Oh,
Yeah,
oh man, Salem's Lot.
that was my summer reading. Flowers in the Attic.
Cool. But anyhow, yeah, another
Yeah.
Dora.
Yeah, so another Dora. And so this is an advanced AI driven tool designed to streamline the process of drafting academic papers and other related documents. And you took a looky loo, huh?
I did. I tried it out even because it was so easy to try out. So it took maybe a minute. So you go into a template and it says, what subject do you want to research? And I wrote in music and mental health. And then I clicked some sort of proceed button, not paying much attention to it at all. And then it said, do you have any images, references, or paper or materials to contribute? And I didn't. So then I just clicked generate. And it said, okay, this will take about 20 minutes. And then it started to generate an outline of the paper. And it had all these little feeder things where it was kicking off different software scripts to go look for related texts, related references, related images, related analyses, and all this stuff. So I let it run. And then I took some videos. So you can see on the Geyser post for this episode, you can watch that. Over the appropriate drop D guitar riffs from Provoke the Truth, our music provider, and with a SpongeBob reference in the middle because we do want this to have at least some fun adolescent undersea quahog starfish references. And you can see then 20 minutes later, a paper came out with all sorts of scientific claims, none of which were true, all sorts of claims of statistical analyses, symptoms, symptom relief, blah, blah, blah. It's claimed to be a review paper, but it has new findings in it.
Mm-hmm.
The references are fulsome. I didn't check their validity. I didn't read the paper. There are some disclaimers in there that this was generated by this or that, but you get a docx file. You can strip those out pretty quickly, and then you can just send it into a journal or post it in your own little fake journal if you happen to be a McCullough author.
Yeah.
And, that could all be done while you're eating. I mean, you could kick it off, eat your sandwich at lunch, have it in your fake journal by the time you go, go for your 12:45 walk after lunch, and you're good to go. So it's shocking. It was actually shocking to see how this is happening. And I don't think, if anyone is aware of this, as how easy these things are to use, I'd be surprised because I don't think we've been awake to watch how sophisticated, how well stocked, how capable these people are at flooding the literature, and this is a really good example.
Mm-hmm. And it's one thing, this is not unexpected coming out of, shady paper mills that we don't know where they are in the world and who's behind them. Of course, they're
Right.
using,
Stuff like
wizards and
this.
macros and stuff like that. That's one thing. But this is front and center. It's a consumer product, and it's aligned with the people who are running HHS.
Right.
And not only that this is the endorsed, preferred, incentivized path forward for scientific publishing in the future. And you look at their also the language that they have about their values, for the company, for insilico.com. And they're all the same words that we're seeing being used very aggressively by the RFK Jr. folks. Patient first, relentless innovation, transparency and integrity, and highest quality reproducibility. Which is, this is all very, software language. But one thing that I thought about in as you were creating that paper on the fly in their FAQs, it asks, one of the questions is this what you generate going to be unique for me? Meaning,
Mm-hmm.
if I put in the same prompt, am I going to get a duplicate paper? Because that's going to be a problem
Right.
because we can't both
Right.
publish the same thing
Right.
usually. And they say, no, it is unique to you. So that means it's not reproducible
Right. No, but
because it's a
this is the
it's made up.
but this I mean again these people are lying, right? So they don't care about reproducibility.
No.
They don't care about careful scientific work. They don't care about any of that. They're using those terms to imply that there's a problem in real science and they're the alternative.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going to stand by these standards that real science has somehow failed to live up to. And they are going to show the new path forward, and they're going to use it with their software first approach that's going to be predictable. And again, like you and I have talked about before, it can be reproducible in their world because they can simply generate a paper that can say, I want a paper about how reproducible this finding is.
Right.
And they'll publish that and say, hey, look, we published a paper that is reproducible. So,
Yeah, we've.
you know,
Ah.
and then I gotta go for my power walk now.
But
It's terrible.
again, I'm not a scientist, and there are a lot of very famous scientists who are working in this space, and so I have to
Mm-hmm.
question, like, is everything that they're doing fake? Is anything that they're doing good or sound? Is it a bad thing that they're trying to figure things out in different ways? Probably
Well,
not.
no, if they stayed in their lane,
Yeah.
that would be one thing.
Yeah.
But they're trying to use this as a cover for everything else they're trying to do, which is decimate America's public health so that they can extract as much money as possible
Mm-hmm.
while doing that and externalize all the risk by not actually taking any responsibility for anything they're doing.
Right. And I think it needs to be pointed out that some of the biggest names that we're talking about have been involved in not so great things recently. So George
Mm-hmm.
Church, one of the acknowledged as one of the pioneers of genomics and particularly personal genomics, and he's created a lot of the technology that's going into a lot of great research, including CRISPR.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a paper retracted from PNAS a couple weeks ago. It was a paper that was published in 2022 that was served as one of the bases for BioViva, which is one of the many biotechs that he's involved with. And that paper was the basis for their gene therapy products. So this company claims that you can spritz things up your nose or inject them into your body, and they will make you better. And their CEO,
Right.
Liz Parrish, was very much against this retraction. And she's qualified to say that because her backstory is that she was a mom who was concerned about her child, and so she went off to Mexico and got a bunch of injections of things, and then started a
Right.
company with George Church. So that's
Yep.
what she
There you
did.
go.
But on their, on their website, I love this phrase, and it just didn't occur to me. So insightful. She says, "Biological aging is the biggest killer on the planet." Shit,
That
man.
is so true. I
It's
mean, I
so
never thought of
true.
it that way. I
Who
mean,
doesn't die from biological aging? And it's a problem.
yeah.
It made me think of, like, it's like saying, "Oh, your epidermis is showing," like.
What?
And
Oh my
so
gosh.
does this paper retraction undermine all the good work that George Church has done? No. But people should also know that his lab at Harvard has been involved in over 50 biotech startups. And in 2018, they spun up 16 in one year. So that's
Wow.
how much wealth is being generated off of these
Yeah.
ideas. And that's
Yeah.
flooding the zone with as many startups as possible. And then, of
Well,
course,
and extracting a lot of money out of Silicon Valley. I'm sure a lot of those were funded by
yeah,
recent young billionaires who don't want to die, and it's like half my money is going to go to my bunker, and half of it's going to go to fund the fight against death.
yeah. And I get it. You got to try a lot of things and to see what sticks. David Sinclair sold his biotech to GSK for 720 million and then they shut it down because they couldn't make anything out of it. I get it. This happens all the time. You
Right.
need to try until something is a breakthrough. Um, but that model, this biotech model, is completely anathema to what we know and need in terms of public health. Um,
Right.
so it's the point is not to say that these are bad scientists. It's just that they have nothing to do with the pursuit of public health that our government should be involved in. What they are
Hmm.
doing is all about building private wealth,
Right.
and maybe with a side effect of some things that actually do work.
Well, but what has happened, it seems, is that it slipped even from the point of like sincere attempts from labs to try to find ways to ameliorate or extend or ameliorate aging effects or extend life to now Silicon Valley looking at this and saying, you know what, if we just routinize this like software engineering, we can make a lot of money off of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's put our pit bull at the head of HHS to tear things apart and get rid of the people who are blocking us. And then we'll start to put in people like Jim O'Neill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, Kennedy's quote on O'Neill was that he was ideally suited to turn the Department of Health and Human Services into a technological innovation powerhouse. Um,
wow.
and
And that's public health language right there,
right,
folks.
yep.
That's exactly what you want
Mm-hmm.
your epidemiologist telling you.
Yep. And so through O'Neill's relationships with Peter Thiel kind of at the helm, but also with a lot of folks like Michael Antonoff, who are putting money and putting out products that align with this agenda to get around standards, to get around regulations in order to continue on their own parallel track while completely leaving the rest of the population kind of out of mind. And it's not that, I
Hmm.
mean, I think some of these people are real misanthropes, and a lot of the, um, when you think about all the, the vaccine debate, and that there's real harms that are going on there.
Hmm.
But some people, really believe it for whatever reason. It's like a religion.
Right.
But that's different. These people just literally do not care about
Hmm.
anything
Right.
substantive for the rest of us.
Right.
And that's what's
Well, they've been put out of touch
scarier.
with reality for so long. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the side effects I think of massive wealth when you're young.
Hmm.
And an insular and Silicon Valley is an insular culture, right?
Hmm.
It's a very odd culture. You and I have both been there, and it's like this is different,
Yeah.
and it's seeped out into the general culture in a lot of different ways. And we've adopted too many of its approaches in hopes of having some of the same outcomes. But when it gets down to the elite of the elite, the Andreessens and the Zuckerbergs and the Antonovs and you name the names, and O'Neill's in that orbit,
Hmm.
they're very out of touch with reality, and they're so it's not surprising that they actually like Kara Swisher said, her favorite quote about Silicon Valley, or my favorite quote of hers about Silicon Valley is, "They hate us. They really hate us." And I think
They
it's
do.
true. They look down their nose at everybody else because we weren't able to make $2.3 billion before we were 30.
Yeah, because we did. Yeah, there's a lot of those who tried and failed, but the ones who succeeded have a disproportionate amount of power simply because they made some virtual reality goggles or
There's
something
a. I'm
else.
gonna. I'm gonna throw something in here unexpected. There's a book that I've been reading by Astra Taylor called The People's Platform. And she talks about, I forget the researcher who, or the thinker who thought of or discussed this, but she talks about how people have what this person called the gift. And it's basically, it sounds like empathy, right? The ability to, but not only empathy, but a talent to go behind that empathy. So it's musicians, it's artists, it's physicians, it's teachers, it's people who have this gift of relating to other people to helps make the world better for them.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks a lot about how technologists have been trying to steal that gift for themselves by absorbing all of the goodness, but without understanding that it's not absorbable, right? So you can create Spotify and absorb all the music and even mimic all the music with AI music and all that,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not absorbing the goodness of a real heartfelt song performed by a genuine human
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, right? You can try to absorb science. You can try to absorb art. You can try to absorb words through AI and all of those things, but you're not absorbing the touch of the hand on the knee of the patient who's in pain. You're not absorbing any of the knowledge or the experience or the human qualities. And it's a really interesting thing at a time like this, because it also shows just, we talk about these people being out of touch, but I don't think they have the gift. I don't think they have empathy. And they
No,
don't even know that they don't have it.
no. I mean, can you imagine Dmitri being in the same room with Michael
Oh
Antonoff
man,
and
that guy
having,
has the gift.
yeah. And it's so confusing and disorienting to people like Dmitri that he's being completely discarded as a human
Yeah.
being by somebody who put up a scrum board and said, "We can do it like this."
Yeah. We're going to engineer the end of
They
death.
can't even have a conversation because they're not coming to
Yeah.
it from this
Well, one
any
has the
similar.
gift
Yeah,
and the other doesn't. I mean,
yeah.
I think it was a really interesting thing to read recently while we were talking about this and seeing this happen and listening to Dmitry Daskalakis from the CDC and that interview. And just, I mean, he loves doing good for people. He loves feeling like he prevented illnesses or prevented outbreaks or helped children run and laugh and be carefree. He loves that.
Hmm.
That's his gift. And he worked tirelessly and probably will still work tirelessly to do it again. And these people are just exploiting all sorts of, our infatuation with technology and our inability to see it for what it is to drive really good people with the gift to the periphery while they try to make a ton of money.
Hmm.
So,
Well, and hopefully they are successful in self-organizing outside of the government. And it
yeah.
sounds like that, they're not just, going away quietly. They're actively saying, do not trust the government. And those of us who
Hmm.
are coming from there are here for you in whatever capacity we can be. So
Yeah, I think they're
that's
going to
really
find roles
inspiring.
in a lot of these societies that are
Yeah.
trying to create all science-based
Hmm.
reality to outlast these people. But we just wanted to tell this story a little bit more fully than you might have heard it. Who Jim O'Neill is, how it's all tangled up into this belief that you can turn science into technology. It gets into a whole bunch of things we talk about in the book, and we can't go into here, but it's all there, kind of. I mean, but it's amazing how quickly they've moved to put this on top of really one of the greatest scientific and public health achievements, which was the American system, that was working very, very well up until very recently.
Hmm.
And now they've just basically swept a lot of it aside and worry about the future. But this is part of why they're doing it. It's for private wealth.
Hmm. And let me just leave you with one more fun fact about what this private wealth industry is, what they've proven so far, and what they're trying to replace our public health system with. And this is from Aubrey de Grey's speaker bio for that RAD festival in Vegas in July. His LEV Foundation recently completed studies involving 1,000 middle-aged mice, extending their lives by 4 months through combination therapies.
Wow.
First of all, I just thought of these little middle-aged mice. Like, oh, I guess I should exercise more. No, it's here.
Yeah.
It's me, Aubrey de Grey. Here, I'm gonna.
No, they're middle-aged mice.
Yeah.
They're like, can we watch Seinfeld reruns tonight? You know, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4 months.
But for
I mean,
these,
this is.
But for these people, that is something to brag about, because if you do the math of these 4 months in mice years, and you extrapolate that out using physics and graphs, that means,
and escape velocities.
Escape velocity. It means we may truly get to being a trillion quahogs that can live on Mars someday.
Oh, great. Sounds like a wonderful vision of humanity's future, people. Anyhow, so watch this space, but they're definitely, the Silicon Valley's coming for science. And I think and they want to make it profitable for themselves in the process.
And if you want to get a sense of it, just go on to any big platform, publishing platform, and just do some quick keyword searches for some of the terms that we mentioned today, and you'll see how much is being pumped out, particularly through mega journals, particularly through open access, pay to play journals, special issues and things like that. And so you can see all the characters. It's not a secret. They're operating right in front of us, and they are mingling in our ecosystem along with all the good science that's going to real public health.
Yep, and getting DOIs all the way. All right, so let's go on to discoveries of the week. All right. So I'm going to go first with my discovery of the week, which came courtesy of my very delightful son. And this is a grammatically correct sentence in English that is 8 words long, and the word is the same. So the sentence is buffalo, 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 which is a grammatically correct sentence using homonyms and homophones. And the way it works is that buffalo is an attributive noun, meaning that it can be Buffalo, New York. It's a verb, meaning to bully, harass, intimidate, or baffle. Mm-hmm. And it is a noun, which is a bison. So semantically equivalent to buffalo, 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 buffalo. And the key thing is buffalo is the plural.
Oh,
also.
It's not buffalo.
That's no. Or buffaloes.
Buffaloes. I vote for that.
I like both. I like both your options. But the semantically equivalent form, preserving the original word order, is Buffalonian bison, whom other Buffalonian bison bully, also bully Buffalonian bison. So there is my discovery of the week, which created this incredibly fun text exchange with my son, because I'm like, I think he figured it out and then sent it to me, and he was enjoying watching me struggle my way to believing it was actually true, but he ultimately got me there. So that's my discovery of the week.
That's a good one. Well, we were talking about RFK Jr. And we were debating whether he was, I was calling him a useful idiot, but you corrected me saying that was the wrong term, that really he's a bulldog. But I think he might be a buffalo
He is buffaloing a lot of people. Yep, absolutely.
Uh, well, that was a good one. And you got me thinking about buffaloes. So I was thinking, I combined that with, I'm still reading Mood Music, the Spotify, Mood
Oh yeah,
Machine, Liz Pelly's book about Spotify,
that's
which
a
is
good book
really
too.
good.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about music, and then you got me thinking about buffaloes. So that got me thinking about Bob Marley.
Oh, nice.
And his song Buffalo Soldier. And so I was looking that up because I wanted to listen to it. And then it reminded me of the 2013 remix of Bob Marley's Legend record, which if you didn't have that like stuck in your tape cassette, when you were growing up for a long time, then you've really missed out. And that's just a record that I can listen to anytime. I think the only time I got sick of it, I was on a scuba trip in St. Thomas, and that was the only thing that they were playing all day.
No,
But
yeah.
but the remixed record from 2013 was done by a couple of his children, and collaborating with a bunch of other artists, and they went through and did a EDM dubstep remix of every song
Oh,
on that
cool.
record.
Wow.
And that's real fun to listen to. And it's great mood music. It'll put you in a good mood. And unlike Spotify, it was not artificially generated. The people who contributed to it are credited, and they all put their personal touch on it. And so it's a really good record. So my discovery of the
And
week,
that guy had the gift.
he
I
had the
mean, talk
gift.
about empathy. Oh,
Yes. So that's my discovery and recommended listening is Legend Remixed, the 2013 EDM dubstep album.
that is awesome. All right, I'm going to have that on while I put this video together for everybody and get the podcast out. So I'll do the wrap. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks to our friends at Provoke the Truth for the music, and let us know what you think. Joy will be at the Peer Review Congress in Chicago later this week. So reach out to her if you see her and you're there. You can reach us at disruptedscience@gmail.com, and our silly sign off of the week. So I was thinking I'm going to do a Chicago-based one.
Oh, good.
Holy cow! It's Harry Carey. It's a deep cut. It's an old one.
Oh, that just makes me sad because I'm only going to be there for 2 days. And there's so many
Can't get
things
to
I
Wrigley.
can't get to Wrigley. I had one of the best nights there, sitting on this rooftop
That is a fun
across
park.
the way.
Yeah.
Well,
Remind me later. I have to tell you a story. I'll tell you a quick story.
Okay.
We're over the time, but anyhow. So I was listening to sports radio, and they were talking about Fenway Park, and they're like, "We love Fenway Park," and da 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 da. But then one guy said, "But the best time to be at Fenway Park is when there's a concert, because that's the only time when there's no opposing team. So there's no fans in the stands wearing the Yankees jerseys or anything like that, and there's no tension in the air. Everybody's on the same team at a concert." And and they're like, at sports radio, and they're going on like, music brings people together and all this. I'm like, you guys are so adorable. Anyhow, all right. So holy cow is what I thought.
holy
All right,
cow.
have fun in Chicago, Joy. Looking forward to your reports.
All right. See you later.